Happy Sunday to you as we're back in the recliner. Sunday, the thoughts from the recliner. And you know what? Maybe today we're sponsored by Christmas tree cake, the official dessert of Christmas. Only here for a limited time. Want to know what my snack is after the show? It's Christmas tree cake. Quite tasty. These are the big ones too. That was the Had to get that for the kids a couple weeks ago, and that out of the way. So I got one here for a post-show celebration snack. But we all love Christmas tree cakes this time of the year. Beautiful day out. You can look at beautiful Lake Murray. It is nice right now before we get ready for this winter cold. It's supposed to be 19 tonight, dropping down into the teens. That's not going to be enjoyable, especially for me. So let's enjoy the weather and talk a little Gamecock sports. It's been a busy week. It's been a busy week for South Carolina, from the hirings of Kendall Briles, Randy Clements, and Stan Drayton, to the scheduling release on Thursday night, to now reports, nothing official, but the reports coming out as it pertains to LaNorris Sellers. And also this morning, some news coming out. Brady Hunt, the 15th year tight end, will return for year 16. I'm exaggerating a little bit. I think it's only year 11, but he will. He says he put out an Instagram post that said, let's run it back or run it back. I don't know, something. Thankfully, I don't follow these kids on Instagram, but I did see it reported. So Brady Hunt will be back, and that's a good thing. But let's discuss, just as we wrap up the week, some final thoughts on Kendall Briles and this Lenor Sellers news that I think we all knew was coming. And let's start with that, with Kendall Briles. I mean, this is a grade A plus, knock it out of the park, pressure situation, bases loaded. You're down 3 runs, bases loaded, bottom of the ninth, 2 strikes, 2 outs. And I'm going to come back to that because that might not actually be the case. We might be wrong about that. But, Kendall Briles is a name that's going to bring a little bit of excitement on the recruiting trail, but it's also going to bring a completely different style of offense and philosophy to South Carolina. This is a complete 180 from what Shane Beamer has kind of wanted to do. And I talked about it before. One of the issues I think is that Shane had wanted to be a little bit, I don't want to say too involved. I don't think he was calling plays. I don't think he was overriding decisions. I think he was allowing Marcus Satterfield and Dow Loggins and Mike Schuler to call what they wanted, but it was under the concept of what Shane Beamer wanted. And I think this is Shane. I think that's why I say at the bottom, the views are of my opinion and of nobody else, nobody that I'm affiliated with. And but with that being said, I think this is Shane relinquishing, kind of stepping back, much like Steve Spurrier would do with the defense, and just be like, all right, Kendall, it's your offense, it's your show. If you succeed, everybody's going to know it's you. Everybody is going to know it's you. And we know it's a Veer air raid concept. It's got air raid concepts in it, but it's a Veer concept more. So it's a little bit different. Whereas at TCU, you were trying to maybe mesh a little bit of what Sonny Dykes likes to do with what Kendall Briles likes to do. And it kind of didn't materialize in the way that I think those two wanted it. And while the offense wasn't bad, it wasn't the great offense that I think they envisioned. Whereas here, much like at Florida State, much like at Arkansas, this is Kendall Briles' baby. This is exactly what he wants to do, and he's going to be allowed to call it, to run it. I go back, when Steve Spurrier was here, there was questions back then. Hey, who's calling the offense? Is it Spurrier? Is it Spurrier Jr.? Is it a team effort? There would be times when the offense succeeded, and we were like, well, that was Spurrier. And there was times when the offense would drag, and we'd be like, well, that's Steve Spurrier Jr. We're going to know, I think. There's no questions asked. There's no calling in to the post-game show. We know this is Kendall Briles' offense. If they go out next year against Mississippi State in Game 3, and we'll get to the scheduling, and they can only put up 17 points, 21 points, we don't look at Shane Beamer. We look directly at Kendall Briles, and we say, it's on you, big fella. Now, why are you making, remind us again why you're making $2 million. So I think there's a lot of good in that. Now, that does bring me to the other part of this. How big of an ask is it for Kendall Briles to come in and just turn this ship around in year one? Is the length of the leash for Shane Beamer a little bit longer than we anticipated? Did Jeremiah Donati say, "Hey, listen, I think 4-8 is a complete fluke. If you're 6-6 next year and we feel like we're heading in the right direction, don't worry about it. You're going to get year at that time. That'll be year then 7. This will be year 6. You will get year 7. So I was there some assurances made on behalf of Jeremiah Donati that hey, you don't have to win 8 or 9 or even 7 games to retain your job for 2027. I know we're looking way down the line because again, Kendall Briles, when you're asking 14 spring practices and a spring game, although there is a convenient excuse now with the construction at Williams-Brice Stadium to not have a spring game. So maybe it's just 15 straight practices and you make it happen. And then fall practice. So roughly about 27, 26 practices. So you're talking 40-ish in that area to put a whole offense in and go from there. And that does seem it's not excessive. It's not excessive. It's not like that's a crazy thing. It's not like it's never been done before. But it is with a lot of pressure on the line. Looking at that schedule, you're going to play 9 straight SEC games, and we'll get into the schedule coming up here in a few minutes. You're asking a lot. You are. I think asking for 8-4 next year, even with some of the guys that I anticipate coming back, might be a little bit unrealistic, or maybe I'm having my standards too far down. I don't know. We'll have to discuss that over the next 9 months as we get closer to September 5th and what we see from guys going in the transfer portal and what we see from guys they land in the transfer portal. And that'll be interesting to kind of see. But I think the Kendall Briles is a great hire. We'll see if he is successful. He might only be here 1 year. That's another interesting little piece to this. If Kendall Briles comes in and is ultra successful, who's to say that next year he's not running off to a head coaching job, which is his next step? He doesn't need to take another offense coordinator job. Everybody's going to know, again, as I pointed out, that this is going to be his baby. So, with Kendall Briles, if he's ultra successful and he goes 9-3, and that's great, you might be looking for another offense coordinator next year. But I guarantee you take that over 5-7 or 4-8. So we'll see. The news right now, Pete Thamel reporting it, but give a lot of credit to Hale McGranahan of thebigspur.com. Hale had this out there earlier this week, and Pete kind of followed him on it. But Hale reporting that Lenor Sellers is likely to be back. That was his report much earlier in the week, that LaNorris was returning. That was very, very likely returning to school. Yesterday, Pete Thamel, a national analyst, one of the guys that Shane ripped up on Friday morning for their lack of he didn't name Pete specifically, but he did take to task national journalists for their reporting of the situation. But Pete reporting that a deal with Lenor Sellers is close to being finalized that would allow him, or that I say allow, what stupid words we use now to describe college football, but a deal is close to being reached where Lenor Sellers would return to South Carolina in 2026 to be the starting quarterback. We assume the starting quarterback. So what does it mean? Well, you get the best option you can get. Let's be honest. No offense to Landon Duckworth, Cutter Woods, or even Aaron Nolan. On a year with the significance 2026 is going to have, that's not what you want to go with. You don't want to go with a true freshman in Landon Duckworth. Cutter Woods, maybe that's a great thing, but you don't, the first, as I'm going to get into, the first 6 games are so vital for South Carolina next year. The first 5 are huge, and the 6th game, the Florida game, is big. But having a guy back who's now got 2 years starters experience, is considered one of the best athletic quarterbacks in the country. I saw the Todd McShay say that he still has a chance next year to go top 5 with a very good year. His athleticism will put him ahead of guys like Arch Manning and other Julian Sayin and several other elite quarterbacks that are going to be coming out next year. John Mateer is another one from Oklahoma that they mentioned. DJ Lagway down in Florida. But his athleticism is going to put him ahead of a lot of those guys if he can have a good year and look better prepared and better ready to run any system, let alone NFL, college at least. This year I didn't think we saw that. So, that's huge in itself. 2, as I'm saying, you get this guy back who has 2 years of experience. You're going to go to Alabama in September. he's already started a game there, and that's a big game. We'll see what Alabama is. Obviously, they're going to get some guys back. Ty Simpson. It's not like the last 2 years where you're playing first-time quarterbacks in Jalen Milroe in 2023 or 2024, and this past year Ty Simpson. Even if they were into their starting experience by the time you got to them, you're going down there, and LaNorris has been there. He's been to Bama. He knows what it's like. He's going to have been to play at Clemson. He hadn't played against Georgia. He's been to Texas A&M. They don't have to go to Texas A&M. A&M comes here. But he's played these teams, and he's in most of them. He's played twice. So you get a guy next year where you don't worry from game one. You're not spending the first 8 quarters, Kent State and Towson, trying to get your quarterback acclimated. He's ready to step out there on the field. He's already done it. He's been there, and that's a big part for getting Kendall Briles' offense going immediately, right off the bat. So needless to say, this is huge. It's big. I don't care what you say about him. I'm going to side with the fact that I think it was Mike Shula this year, not LaNorris Sellers. We're just going to take that. It's going to be the easiest excuse to make that it was all Mike Shula's fault. If Shula hadn't been here, LaNorris would have had a big year. Probably would have beat out Fernando Mendoza for the Heisman last night and would be on his way to the NFL as the number 1 pick in the draft. That's not how it went down. So we're just going to we're going to do that thing we as sports entertainers do. Media. I'm not media, but as people who do podcasts and radio and all the other stuff, we're just blaming it all on the person that we want to blame it on to make it all work and add up, and that's going to be Mike Shula. So Mike Shula, I apologize if you're watching the podcast. Thank you. I appreciate it. Hit the subscribe button, hit the like button. I got to remember how to turn comments on, but I blame you. I blame you and the offensive line, and both of those coaches are gone. So huge for that. Big for that. So there's some thoughts on Kendall Briles and on LaNorris Sellers. Let's go to the other big piece from last week, and that is the release of the 2026 schedule. Now we know the dates. All right, here we go. We now know that Kent State is going to be the season opener. Check that one off in the victory mark. Towson, check. 2-0, 8 quarters, scrimmages. Now all of a sudden your preseason, not quite as important. You don't need that preseason scrimmage game because you get 8 quarters of action to get it right. All right, feel good, feel great. Figure out the running back situation. See who's helping Nick Harper step up. All right, does LaNorris have the offense? Boom, Kent State, Towson, get him out of here. We're ready for the season. 9 straight SEC games, 1 bye week in there. Woo! All right. Best schedule I've seen for South Carolina in years. Best schedule. Is it difficult? Yeah, you're in the SEC. You're in the SEC. Of course it's difficult. But this works. Look at the first 6 games. These are great. You get your 3rd straight home game against Mississippi State and Jeff Lebby. That's a winnable game. I'm not saying South Carolina's better than Mississippi State. I'm not saying that they're going to crush them. I am saying you get a game. South Carolina be 2-0. If all's going well, people are hyping up LaNorris Sellers. He's back. He's back. Oh, this Kendall Briles offense is great. South Carolina's becoming a national story. Maybe they're not ranked. That's fine. But you get a winnable game at home against one of the bottom teams of the SEC. Beautiful. 3-0. Boom. 3-0. Doing great. All right. Now you go to Bama. All right. That was a little bit more tough. Probably get a top 10 Bama team. Bama does play Florida State. I can't remember if it's the week before or 2 weeks before, but Bama does have the Florida State game. I think it's the week before, actually. But Bama does have Florida State right before you. But you go down there. South Carolina's been competitive with Alabama the last 2 years. Bama will be favored. If we're sitting here today, we chalk it up in the loss column. Fine. 3-1. Go pull the upset. Play them close. Something. You've had opportunities. You haven't closed out the game. All right. Could be a lot worse. For whatever reason, South Carolina seems to match up with Alabama right now. Now, maybe next year they get blown out by 50. I don't know. But I just know that at least based on right now the last 2 years, South Carolina matches up with Bama. So if you had to give me the 4 away games, Bama, Oklahoma, Florida, and the 4th one will come to me in just a minute, as I didn't write that one down. Oh, Arkansas. I mean, I like Bama where it's at. That's beautiful. That's great. Cool deal. You got Bama there. Then you come back home, you get Kentucky, a team going through a coaching change. They're trying to figure out if if the Boley kid is going to be the quarterback. They're trying to figure out all kinds of stuff. It's the end of September. You know what? As long as you didn't get stampeded by the Crimson Tide, you probably got confidence. You're 4-1 at the end of September. That's the way it should be. That is a bare minimum, truthfully, expectation. You got the guy even got the beat Kentucky towel up right here. Beat Kentucky. Beat Kentucky. There, relax. Beat Kentucky. 4-1. You're probably ranked in the top 25. Again, you're a national story, provided you played Bama close. People were talking about Sellers, maybe for the Heisman. You feel really good about yourself when September wraps up, as opposed to what we just had, because the schedule is conducive to a 4-1 start. It's beautiful. And then the next week, you go to Florida, and we don't know what Florida is. You know, what is John Summerall? What does that team look like? Who are they? What are they looking? DJ Lagway, have they turned things around? But I know this of the road games and where you're putting them. I think it's perfect. I think it's a great spot. I think Florida's going to be good next year, bowl eligible good. Maybe they have a chance to win 8 or 9 games. I don't think their talent's awful, but I also don't think that that's one that you look at and instantly go like, we can't win that one. We can't go to the swamp and win that one. If the season is going according to form and you're 4-1, I love that game. I love where it's at. Beautiful. So I like that. Those first 6 games, you can be, if you want to be that person, you can be that person. Be like, listen, they got to be 5-1. I'm not taking anything less. 4-2, maybe, and that's really reasonable. 4-2 really is where they should be at. No worse than 4-2. No worse than 4-2. But it's a great start. The first 6 games, you get the bye week, you come back, and everybody's talking about this end stretch. It ain't easy. It's the SEC. Tennessee at Oklahoma, A&M comes here, at Arkansas, Georgia, and Clemson at Clemson. Let's go. Let's fast forward all the way to the end. I love this. I love South Carolina and Georgia in November. Different. It's going to be cold. I hope it's a 3:30 game on ABC. If it's a night game, we don't get to experience this. We did this once during COVID, and that season was so far down the drain at that point. Matter of fact, I'm pretty sure Muschamp was fired at that point. And Bobo was running the stuff. I love it. I know people are looking at it, and look, I'm 43. I've watched a ton of Gamecock football. I grew up on South Carolina, Georgia, either the first, second, or third game of the year. I do love that spot. But man, I'm really excited about this particular setup for South Carolina as it pertains to the Gamecocks and playing Georgia in the month of November. I think that's beautiful. I really, really like that. So I'm excited to see that. And again, in a perfect world, for an old man like me who'll be 44 next year and hopefully over his kidney stuff, in a perfect world, that's a 3:30 game. Gives us time to tailgate, gives us time to be done early, gives us time to be home relatively early and be at church at a good time on Sunday morning. So ABC, I request of you, I beg of you, put this as the afternoon 3:30 game on ABC that afternoon. That'd be beautiful, gorgeous, and we'll all love it. So that's kind of my scheduling thoughts. Yeah, 8-4 would be nice. The question becomes: is 7-5, reasonable? How do you feel about 7-5 with a chance to go to a bowl game, providing they don't opt out, and move to 8-5 on the season? Maybe that's reasonable. And again, I'll go back to the start of the season, and this is what it all boils down to. And we're going to debate this for 9 months. Is 4-1, before you get to Florida, or 5-1? What a start to the season. And again, you look at that schedule, and it sets up beautifully to be able to do that. So 4-1, 5-1, and it puts you in a great place. Arkansas is a winnable game. I love where that's situated at the end of the year, because if you're talking about your easiest road trips, that's probably the easiest. I'd prefer to have one on the back end of the schedule. Obviously, they'll be trying to figure things out with Ryan Silverfield. It'll be late in the season, and that'll be a big game both for South Carolina. Maybe at that time, hopefully you're bowl eligible, but if you're looking for bowl eligibility before you get Georgia and Clemson, and not having that pressure on you, you can get that. And let's be honest, you get there, that would be win 6. Maybe you're talking about trying to beat Georgia and Clemson. Georgia would be the harder of the two. We're not going to discuss the Clemson game today, but certainly I don't think that they're going to be the team that we've seen the last decade and a half up there at Memorial Stadium. So there's my thoughts on the scheduling. I'm a big fan of it. Talk more about it this week. I'm a huge fan of it. Real quick, last night, South Carolina basketball, they knock off Citadel 71-55. They make the record look beautiful. 7-3. That's what we have on the outside. The inside of this team, though, I don't know. It's hard. It's hard for me to buy into this team right now. You look at them on the season, and they are shooting 31.3% from 3-point range. Eli Ellis comes into the year, and we expect big things from Eli Ellis, and he's learning. But I tried to say this, that overtime elite league, there was differences between that and high-level high school basketball. And that was designed it wasn't an and one league, but it was not a legitimate high school league, if you will. It was nothing like what's at the Bojangles Bash over there has been this week. Now they were good players and good teams, don't get me wrong, but the rules were a little shady, a little bit different. But he's 23 he is 23.3% from 3-point range. Leading 3-point shooters, as you would expect, Michi Johnson's upholding his own 37.5%. But that's kind of interesting because, again, right in the middle would be right there at 30%, and the team average is 31.3. And now you go to SEC play. Well, excuse me, you got Clemson on Tuesday, and you got 2 more games after that. South Carolina, if they lose on Tuesday night to Clemson, that'll be the 4 bigger games, the non-conference, Northwestern, Butler, or Butler, Northwestern, Virginia Tech, and Clemson. You go 0-4 in that. That's not good. Matter of fact, last night, their Ken Palm rating dropped outside of 110, despite beating Citadel by 16. But, that would not be a good look. Then you go to SEC play. 7 of your, as we sit here today on Sunday, December the 14th, 7 of your remaining 21 games, they've played 10 so far. They have 31 total, 21 remaining games. So you've played a third of the season. So some of these statistics now, that's who they are. That's who they are. Can things change a little bit? Yes. Do I think this team is a better shooting team than 31.3% from 3-point range? Yes, I do. But does that mean they'll do it on a consistent basis? No, it doesn't. So, I take that into account as well. I think this team is probably closer to 31.3% than being a great 3-point shooting team, especially with SEC play still to go. But one other thought on that, SEC basketball, if you're not paying attention, and sometimes I don't think a lot of people pay attention to basketball, let alone SEC basketball, it's a down year. Now, compared to last year, it's way down. SEC basketball right now is kind of, they're at least the 3rd best conference in the country, maybe 4th behind the ACC. I'd have to get into semantics and looking at each league and breaking things down, and I didn't do that to prep for this particular little podcast. But I'd at least have the Big 10 and the Big 12 ahead of the SEC, and you might be willing to throw the Big East and the ACC in there. It's conceivable the SEC is the 5th best conference this year. Right now, you look last night, Arizona just handles Bama by 21 in that game. Florida right now has lost a couple games. Tennessee's lost 3 in a row. Auburn, I don't know whether to buy into Auburn because of the coaching change from Bruce to Steve Pearl. Who else is right? Vanderbilt's 9-0, has the best record, but Vanderbilt hadn't played a cushy soft schedule, but they hadn't played anybody either. It's kind of right there in the middle. So you look at this league right now, Kentucky's lost to some really good teams. They finally got a win over Indiana Friday night, which was a big win. But, the bottom line is this league is not the juggernaut that it was last year. And I say that because it gives me hope that South Carolina can go into the league. And even if South Carolina's not living up to what I thought they would be this year, the league is not as difficult as it was. So maybe South Carolina can get to 6 or 7 conference wins if the shooting can improve. Defensively and rebounding wise, I quite frankly don't know if that can come around. But if the shooting can improve, I think South Carolina's got a chance to win some games there. So big game for the SEC on but Tuesday night. South Carolina Clemson need a win over the ACC, and then you got another SEC ACC showdown, Tennessee and Louisville on Tuesday night as well. Tennessee ranked, Louisville really good. I love Pat Kelsey for the Cardinals. I loved him when he was at Winthrop. Then went to Charleston. I got to know him. I think he's an incredible human being, let alone a basketball coach. So we'll see what happens. We're going to turn the calendar into 2026, and with basketball, that's the first chance we have to really decide how is Jeremiah Donati as an athletic director. You may have some big decisions to make as we watch this team go through the month of January and into February, and where do they sit mid-February? Is the season still on the line, or are we already talking Valentine's Day weekend? Are we already talking about baseball and what Paul Maneri is going to do? And we've moved on to the future of him. We already know the future of Lamont Paris. So big year. Big, really next 2 months as we sit here. I mentioned the 14th. So Valentine's is February 14th. Don't forget. With that being said, you think about that's all right. We're 2 months away. We got about 60 days, maybe conceivably, to figure out the future of Lamont Paris and where this basketball team's heading, and then see what implications that has for Jeremiah Donati's decision. So there's a little Gamecock talk this afternoon as we roll along. Been a great weekend, a 50th birthday party for my good friend Chris Search. If you see Chris Search wandering out there in the Midlands this week, wish him a happy 50th. Remind him of your name. He's getting older, memory kicking in a little bit, and he's got a wife and 2 girls. So I know that's tough back home, but he does a heck of a job. Great father, great friend, was a college roommate. Went out to his 50th birthday on surprise 50th birthday on Friday night. Had a lot of time, and then last night had a great Christmas party with Jim Thompson and the whole LJ's group up at the restaurant. That was a lot of fun. So it's been a great weekend. I'm kind of relaxing today, watching the Patriots and the Bills right now, and the Eagles are up on the Raiders, enjoying the lake. And Alexa tells me it's supposed to get down to about 19 degrees tonight. That does not sound fun at all. So stay bundled up, be warm. I got my Christmas shopping done yesterday, the majority of it. Looks like Shane Beamer got his done last week by landing 3 assistants, getting back LaNorris Sellers. He's about done with Christmas shopping for the year as well. So we roll on, we move on, and I'll have some more videos out this week, some mental health videos, some Gamecock related videos, maybe a few other things as we head closer to Christmas. But I hope you're having a great holiday season. I know for whatever reason, it's been a great season. We got 4 Christmas trees around the house. We did not do this one in front of a Christmas tree. I tried the recliner look this afternoon, and we're good sitting here. So make sure you click and subscribe to the YouTube channel. We're growing quickly, almost to 100 subscribers, and that's great. That's awesome. As we try to put out some more content. Obviously, I'm only on radio 3 hours a day, so that's 21 other hours to get opinions out there that I don't always get to share right away. So hope you're enjoying it. Thank you again for subscribing. Please subscribe. Follow me on Twitter at Will, W-I-L, Gunter, G-U-N-T-E-R. Same on Instagram as well. Everybody finish having a great weekend, a great Sunday evening, and look forward to catching up with you later on this week. Take care, and Merry Christmas to you and your family.